Hello.
Hello.
I'm front and centre. We were side by side a minute ago. Now I feel like I'm hearing postulating you. I'm now. Welcome to Lee Stafford Masterclasses. I'm Lee Stafford. This is James Atkinson.
Your hair's gone curly, Lee.
What a perm. It's all coming back, mate. Well, welcome, guys. Thank you very much. I will swing you back to Lee, who will give us the showdown, the lowdown. But in just a second, I'll give you a quick introduction to me if you've never seen me before. But Lee, thank you for having me. Take it away for a second.
Oh, yes. Hello, guys. Welcome to Lee Stafford Education Live Masterclass. I think this is the third in the series with James Atkinson, the superstar YouTuber. I mean, we was just talking about it before we went live. I mean, James is actually now in his studio, his YouTube studio, and James now makes a living from YouTube hairdressing. I mean, you know, there's nothing more modern than that. That is really 21st century stuff. So I'm going to be one of your hosts today, but the main man, James, is going to be presenting to you a twist on the pony uproll, which is one of our classics that we coach at Lee Stafford Education. And he's going to put a lovely twist on it to show you guys what you can get with a classic recipe. And that's the reason why we're doing all of these masterclasses, because we want to share with you guys how strong the classic recipes are and all the other different kind of looks that you can get from stretching and squeezing those classic recipes. Just so you guys, when you go out into the big wide world as a hairdresser, you can hit the ground running and have plenty of looks in your arsenal. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to the YouTube sensation, James Atkinson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stafford, and thank you very much for everybody who's joining us or watching this sometime in the future. So I, as Lee introduced me there, now make my living out of creating video content and sharing it with the world. I do lots of live streaming. I work for different brands as Lee Stafford Education. I work for another, hello Lisa. I work for another product brand called Joico, and I've just joined those guys. And as Lee said, you know, I make predominantly my living now from, you know, creating content online, and I'm feel incredibly blessed, incredibly fortunate to be in that position. But you know, as Lee and I were just discussing, there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of work that goes on in the background that no one ever sees. So I thank each and every one of you that's ever watched any of my videos, if you watch them now, for your support and being there and leaving those comments. Really, really appreciate it. I know some of the LST students are definitely there. They've left their comments, they join the live streams, and they are trying to further themselves in their careers. So I really respect and appreciate each and every one of you does that. So before we get going with any LSE, you know, piece of education, it's really good to kind of center ourselves, to bring ourselves into the room, because it's now 2 PM. Lots of things could have happened between waking up and being here. You know, for instance, you could have left the deep freeze wide open and thawed out all your food. You could have burst your car into a lamppost. You know, and so therefore we could be in the room but not present. So we're going to do a little bit of a breathing exercise to get this class rolling, and then I'm going to show you 2 very, very commercially savvy versions of the pony up. Now, I'm a commercial hairdresser through and through. You cut me down the middle, it would say hair. You know, I am here to help people not just be technically better, but earn more money too. So I spend a lot of my time thinking about, okay, how can this technique that I'm doing right here, right now, help you earn more money? And for the 2 looks that we've got today, they're 2 looks that you'll just be able to take straight to the salon and, you know, use almost immediately. or straight to your, you know, friends and say, check this out, I'm going to make your hair look like X, Y, and Z on Saturday night. Because I think for me, the easier these techniques are, the easier they are to do, and the simpler they are to break down, the more likely you are to use them. So I'm going to really kind of simplify some stuff for you and hope that you can then take this away and actually use it in real life rather than seeing it on here, waiting for that dream moment of, you know, somebody walking in the door that's got exactly the right hair type and never actually getting it done. So before we start, what I'd love you to do is just take a moment and just close your eyes. We're going to get rid of all of those thoughts and feelings that have happened over the last day, 2 days. Close your eyes and just think about your breathing. Don't think about anything else. Just think about your breath. If you need to breathe a bit deeper, just if that's what it takes for you to start thinking about just breathing, just in and out, in and out. So we're going to do something called pyramid breathing, okay? Pyramid breathing is where we're going to hold our breath for a few seconds and then we're going to breathe out for a few seconds. So we're going to go up to 5. Now we're going to start with 1 because 1's dead easy. So we're going to breathe in for 1, out for 1. Good. So we'll start. Now go in for 1, out for 1. Good. We're going to go in for 2, slightly bigger breath. 1 and 2. Good. And then breathe out. 1, 2. Great stuff. Right. Go in for 3. Good. And out. Now, when you do in for 3, you're going to have to hold it at the top a little bit. So we're going to do it 4. We're going to in for 4. We're going to hold it. Ready? Four. Now, lovely stuff. And we're going to, this is the big one now. We're going to go in, big breath in. And out gently. Good stuff. And just go at your own tempo. Now we're going to go down to 4 again. 4. Fantastic. And 3. Good stuff. 2. And 1. Now just hold that breath, breathe out, and then go back to your normal breathing. Just thinking about your breathing, nothing else. Just listen to your own breath. And then slowly open your eyes. And we're back in the room.
Ah, it's good, James. It's good. I love that, mate. I love that.
Good. And so hopefully now, if you joined in, if you didn't, no worries. If you just thought we looked like madmen breathing on the internet, that's fine. But I love breath work. I think it's really important. It oxygenates your brain. It gets the oxygen in your blood. And now you're energized to listen to me for the next 40 minutes.
Brilliant. Now, before we start, would you show us on that camera you just missed here?
Yeah.
This is James's camera that he uses to film all his YouTube stuff. I mean, that is some kit. I mean, what did you start off with, James? You started off with quite a simple camera, though, didn't you?
Mobile phone. I started off with a mobile phone.
Wow.
And then I upgraded to this once I'd got some money behind me, you know, normal DSLR. It's got a metal cage on it, but it's just a normal DSLR, you know. And then I upgraded from there to something a bit more special. This is just like a bigger version of a video camera, you know. Wow. And then I'm over to, you know, now the big boys are out, you know.
So what do you do with the other ones? Now you've got the big boy. What are you doing with the little boy?
I'm not sure what I'm doing with the other ones just yet. I'm holding on to them. The big boy is just I've only not had him very long, but I moved into the studio back on. I got the studio about 4.5 months ago, and so I've slowly, you know, been saving up. I mean, the big camera is the sort of thing that they film ITV dramas with, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, the smaller cameras, I don't know. The smallest camera is just a photo camera. I take pictures of my kids with it now. The middle one is probably a bit excessive, and that one probably will end up being sold at some stage. But, you know, for now, I can afford to hang on to it and have a couple of cameras running sometimes when I make some videos and have a different angle. but it's a very luxurious second angle. So I don't know if I can justify it at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, the world's your oyster, guys. Come on, you know, wherever you are in your career, everybody has got something to share with somebody. I was an apprentice once, and I was sharing what I knew with people who had just started. So once I was a year one apprentice, I've been doing it 12 months. There I was saying to the guys who just joined, right, this is how you shampoo, stand like this, do that, don't do this, don't hurt your back, stand straight. You know, just small stuff that I could share with people who had less knowledge than me. So you've all got something to share with somebody. You know, and I think that's the big lesson for me, was that somebody out there needs the information I have. And it doesn't matter if other people look at it and think it's no good, or they, you know, they're better than me or whatever. That's for them. That's for them to be, you know. I know that the information that I'm bringing is useful to somebody. So always bear that in mind.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point, James. Very good point. I mean, do you ever get people kind of giving you negative comments, and how do you deal with them?
Yeah, kill them with kindness, you know, unless they're rude, you know. And if they're rude, then, you know, someone left me a pretty rude message overnight, you know, and I politely informed them that, you know, my community on YouTube they weren't welcome there. And if they wanted to, you know, divulge in the things that I made, then they you know, it was unnecessary to speak to me in that fashion. You know, so I'm very polite about it. You know, I had one guy sent me a death threat. Yes, I made a video about how to fix your hairdryer. It was a spoof video. I got my hairdryer that was broken. I took it outside. I got a bucket of water. I threw it in a bucket of water. I mean, you can clearly see that it's not plugged in. The cable's like you know, floating around everywhere. Threw it in a bucket of water. Took it out the bucket of water. Let it dry in the sun. Smashed it with a hammer. Put a bucket of water on it, and then said, and the best thing to do is buy a new one. But it was just a ridiculous joke video. You know, it was just a spoof, you know. But this guy said, you're going to kill somebody. You know, someone's going to electrocute themselves. I said, well, you know, I took it outside, you know, and we went backwards and forwards. And I went in defending myself, and I should have just killed him with kindness. And then it got escalated, and he was like, oh, why don't I come and kill you? And, you know.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you know, and all this jazz. And I was like,
can you block people from YouTube like you can from Instagram and other channels?
No, you can't. You can't. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, I don't get much haters, and I don't get many bad comments. And the ones that I do get, I just ride with them, mate.
So what you say, if they go low, you go high.
Yeah, always.
Yeah,
always.
It's the best strategy.
Yeah. Unless they're rude. If they're rude and they're being obnoxious, then I just put them. You know, I go teacher mode. You know, you just got to. You know, I'm not rude back. I just go teacher mode. You know, stern.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm not going to have someone come on there and be rude to me. But if they don't like what I do, or they think that I'm not very good at whatever, then that's fine. You know, I don't get too bereft by that. You know, I say thank you for your feedback. You know, wonderful stuff. You know, why don't you make some content and share it with the world so we can see what you do?
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
Kill them with kindness. Right then. So I've put a little bit of a bend in this just to make life a little bit easier. We're going to brush it out just to create a very, very soft wave. A very, very soft wave indeed, because we just want a little bit of texture in the hair. You know, we don't want it to be too soft and straight. You know, and if we one of the looks, we're going to leave a little bit of softness around the front. So we're going to start with the first look that I particularly like doing this. Now, you know, for me, everything has to have, excuse me, I've got a hangnail, 1 minute. Everything has to have a benefit, a reason, you know. And the reason for techniques like this, you know, the pony up and all that jazz, you know, in our curriculums, is because actually I think they're really massively overlooked. There's two things with a ponytail for me, is that the first thing is that if you ever want to do any session styling or anything like that, the really one of the most important things is whether you've got to be really good at a pony. So for me, that's where it's at in terms of creating foundation techniques, if you will, the cornerstone of what we know. So the second benefit for me is the ideology that in the salon we can utilize these techniques to then create looks for our clients to use. We can teach our clients how to make their hair look nice on the off days. We can give them some alternative looks to do with their hair. So what I'm going to do first off here, I'm going to grab a piece of hair from the front, and I'm just going to simply take a sort of horizontal section, just like that, across the head. You can just see it runs from the parietal ridge across from the recession across the parietal ridge, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing on this opposite side. So we're just going to pick up the hair. I've got a little bit of product in here to give the hair a bit of grip and texture. Okay. And then I'm going to come in, and I've got a brush that's got like very, very soft teeth on it. Okay. And I'm going to use that brush to just smooth out the top section on the hair, just like so. Super easy. Super, super easy. Right then. So then I'm going to come in. I've got a tiny little invisible band here. Okay. I'm going to come in with my ponytail. And I'm going to create not a really tight ponytail because I want to be able to move this up and down a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to take that section of hair. Because I've got some room for this to move, I'm going to pull it down a little. I'm going to split the hair into two, and I'm going to fold this ponytail inside that hair. Okay, so we're going to make a nice twist in the hair. Okay, beautiful. Then we're going to take a little piece of hair from our ponytail, like so, and we're going to hide our elastic band. So we're going to wrap it round, so our elastic band disappears. And then we need a little bit of hairspray. We're going to spray the end of our little piece of hair, and we're going to glue it to the hair above, just like so. So it's gone. So it's like a band, it's a free technique now. Okay. So we're going to just basically repeat this technique. And what we can do with that piece of hair while we're working on the piece below is just hold it up, clip it up out of the way. Nice and simple, really easy to do this, guys. I mean, this is just fantastic. If your client then just says to you, oh, I'm going out tonight, and you've just styled their hair, is there something you can do with my hair? They throw you in the lurch, don't they, when you're in the salon? They say to you, I'm going out tonight. Is there anything you could do with my hair other than wave it? Yeah, this, because it takes no time at all. They've probably never done it to their own hair. And it looks 10 out of 10 when it's done. So it's a winner all round, and they'll think you're a superstar for doing their hair in a different way to what they've had done previously. But again, we just make a small ponytail directly below the one beneath. Okay. And then we take that ponytail and we twist it round, just like so. We cinch the ponytail. We just make sure that we've got enough room in our ponytail to get the hair and then pop it through that section. So let's just make sure there's an ample amount of tension on the hair there. Take the hair, fold it through the hole, like so, just like that. Nice and simple. And then what we're going to do is we're going to secure a piece of hair around the section to hide our bands. We want to hide our bands all the way through this if we can. Get your hairspray, spray your ends liberally, just like so, and wrap it round and stick it down to your hair. Take that.
James, when you was learning, when you first became a stylist, was there one area of hair that you were stronger than others, i.e. colour, styling, cutting?
Yeah,
or was you was there something you preferred more? I mean, where was you on that?
cutting, always. Yeah, always cutting. When I first started in my career, mate. Yeah, I was cutting mad. I started my career with a guy that was a brilliant hair cutter, and I only cut hair for the first 6 years. I did a bit of styling. I got into styling later. Actually, I got into styling probably about 8 years into my career.
How did that? Did you find that? Did you take to that as well as you did cutting?
Styling, not really. No, it was definitely my weakest area. It still is my weakest area to a greater degree. I spent a lot of time practicing my styling, to get better at it, because I wanted to work with the people who I'd met along the way. But it wasn't easy, that's for sure. Just going to bring you up to speed on the technique here. What I'm going to do is pinch the top of this section, and I'm going to tease out some of the hair from this section. I'm going to do this on the subsequent sections as well, just to make it more voluminous, which is a word that I heard the other day, which I love, voluminous. Sounds better than volume, doesn't it? Voluminous. So we're going to create our little tease on the hair there. But I mean, yeah, to be honest, if you'd have asked me, like, when I very first started my career, do you think you'd have ever have coloured hair? I'd have said no, not for all the tea in China. It was just one individual that completely changed my life in terms of hair colour, and
who's that?
Chris Williams, his name is. He's the international colour director for Rush. And the guy I got really lucky. I got able to work with him firsthand for a while when I was at Rush. And, it was like a breath of fresh air, How
did he inspire you, though? What did he do?
He taught me about hair colour in a way that no one else had ever managed, in a way that just made complete sense to me. And everybody else that had ever been with, talked to about hair colour, just didn't make any sense. And the reason they didn't make any sense, and I realised after a while why they didn't make any sense, was because everybody that I'd ever learned from previous to that, all they wanted to do was what I call now formula-led education. Formula-led education. So, all they want to do is you ask them which colour shall I put on, and they say 7GB because it worked for me once. And I'm like, well, it might not work for me today, so I'm now terrified, and I just found that whole formula-led education thing terrifying. So all I ever wanted to do was have a formula that I could rely on, a way of colouring hair that was simple and repeatable. And for me, the way that Chris then came in, with this new style of teaching me, meant that I could just do a hair color then, and it was always going to be exactly what I was hoping it was going to be, or it was going to be there or thereabouts. And it wasn't until I kind of got to that point where I ever thought I'd even get anywhere near hair color. But it was amazing, because as soon as I learned to color hair, did a lot of hair shows with them, all of a sudden that's what I was becoming known for, my coloring skills. And it was amazing to me that anybody was even interested in what I had to say. But it was only because I was parroting Chris, to be honest. I'll be perfectly honest. I was like Chris's parrot, but he was a good colorist, and, he really showed me the way. So I'll just show you what I've done there. I've just popped the ponytail from the section above through the hole where I folded my section through. So I'll do it again, and I'll talk you through it. So I'm going to take this piece of hair, and I'm going to put it through the hole from the section that we took below. So we post it through the hole, and we come in behind the section, and then we make sure that we feed it all the way through the section beneath. It's just a little fiddly, but it's good because it makes the whole thing look loads better. Through that section there. So we're just feeding it through the holes that we created in the shape. Nice and simply. But it's the fiddliest part of this whole thing, really. There we go. It's all the way through now. Right, perfect. Make sure we can't see our bands. Wrap that around there. Great. Just hiding those bands, guys. You know, that's the difference between us professionals and the amateurs, you know. We've got to get those little things down, you know. Good. We've got to separate ourselves from, you know, what people can do at home, because remember, it's really easy for them to go home and learn how to do their hair off of YouTube or whatever. There's loads and loads of tutorials on there, you know. So it's good if we can do these techniques, because if we can't, if we haven't got these techniques in the bag, then ultimately we're going to look, you know, pretty daft, because the clients will be like, well, I mean, I've just learnt this one off YouTube while you've been blow drying my hair. You know what I mean? So you've got to now be even more on your game than you've ever been in your life, you know.
I suppose the one thing that clients find it really hard to do themselves is cutting, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what advice would you give to the students that maybe are struggling with colour at the moment, or might be struggling with cutting? What advice would you give to them at this early stage of their career?
Yeah, great. So I mean, from a cutting perspective, I'd probably say, you know, there's nothing like practice, you know, actually just doing it. Invest in a cheap old mannequin head from, you know, Amazon. I buy a load of heads off from Amazon all the time, you know, they're 30 quid or whatever. Save up, buy a mannequin head and practice. It's an investment for your future, you know. It's an investment for you as a stylist. You're investing your time. Make sure you make that financial investment on the tools that will make your day easier, your life easier, because, you know, the better you get at cutting hair, I think just generally comes from the practice of cutting hair, you know, the reality of repetition. So yeah, make sure, you know, and find some mentors if you can, you know, locally, some great, you know, hairdressers that are in your area that can help you kind of understand the industry from a cutting perspective. You know, find your best hair cutter in your area, somebody that, you know, is big on Instagram, not even big, just does nice things that you like the look of, you know, and kind of go from there. And you know, I think that's, for me, from a cutting perspective, it's about doing it, because you will learn from your mistakes, especially when you're just doing it on, you know, Sally here, the mannequin head. She isn't going to complain, is she, if you graduated Bob's Wonky and it's got a hole in the back? But
No.
you know, and you've got those fantastic recipes that Lee and the team developed, you know, that are absolutely unbelievable. You know, things to spend your day, you know, watching, repeating, watching. I mean, I didn't have those when I was training. I had bought with my own money the Vidal Sassoon ABC DVD.
Oh,
You know, which, I tell you what, guys, if you want to spend, you know, a bit of money on an amazing set of DVDs, then they're the one, you know. And they, you know, watching the guys that are in those videos, you know, the guys that are in those videos are some of the finest hair cutters that ever took breath, you know.
yeah.
And just even watching somebody like that over and over again on that DVD will ultimately make you a better hairdresser. I mean, my ABC DVDs, I watch them so much that effectively they don't actually play anymore. I
Really?
can't. Yeah, they won't run. They start skipping and jumping, and, you know, they run for a minute and then they just stop. Because I literally spent every single hour when I wasn't at work at night, when I first moved to London, sitting in my room watching, you know, great hairdressers cut hair, and sort of thinking about. Say again.
It's what it takes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's what it takes. Yeah, I mean, you know, if we go right back to the beginning of my career, that is what it took, you know, because I'm no natural, you know, that's a fact. And you know, you have to go with the flow, don't you, on these things? And if you want to do something, you've got to work out how to get it done. And that was how I got it done. You know, I really took the time to, you know, make sure that I was, you know, as good as I wanted to be, basically. And that took a lot of time, effort, and energy. Trust me, it didn't come easily. And then from a color perspective, well, again, find a good mentor. Let's have a look at this balance. Hold on a minute. Find a good mentor always, if you can find someone to mentor you. If you can't, get yourself onto YouTube, whatever platform, Instagram, TikTok. Find yourself somebody there who can mentor you. You can watch their videos, ask them questions. People watch my channel and consider me one of their mentors now, even though they've never met me. They send me emails and messages and stuff saying, you've become my mentor, because I do respond to a lot of my messages if I can. And that's made a big difference to, how people, get a good mentor these days and get people to be on board with them,
Lisa's got a question for you, James. Lisa Lewis, thank you for the question, Lisa. Have you got any products in there?
Yes, I put a little bit of mousse in there before I started. And then I've just been using hairspray to secure. So we've got the 3 ponytails here. They're all within inside the hair, so they're all tucked down the back. We've secured here with another ponytail. We've covered with a piece of hair. So we just used the hairspray to stick the hair down. That one's come undone. But I haven't caked it on, because I'm going to brush it out in a minute and show you another look before we do that. But if you cake it on, it will stick and stay. But if you really, really cake on the hairspray, once you've stuck it down, it will stay there forever and ever, amen. So a really, really simple, effective, bohemian style kind of, it looks like a braid to a greater degree. We're going to do a little braid in a minute. We're going to do 2 braids, but a really straightforward thing to do. Your client can bob out the salon, happy as Larry, and they'll think you're a hero, So I think that's number 1. Nice, easy, quick technique. We'll undo this now.
Nice.
Going to take
you have clients that come into your studio, because you do still do clients, right? You do about 12 clients a week. What is your system for advising and making recommendations to clients on their hair?
Great, yeah. So I always, a lot of my clients now, we've worked, into a position where they trust me entirely, and they don't even know what they're going to get. But that has been built. That trust has been built of the fact that I've always got a journey for them to go on. I've always got this thing that in my head I'm going to say to them, like, so like if this was my client, this mannequin head, what I'd be saying to her, for example's sake, and a lot of my clients have got blonde hair, I'd be saying to her, right, okay, it's Christmas coming soon. We'll put a little deeper root on this time. We'll put a few baby lights in. We'll give you a little bit of contrast at the roots there with the baby lights. And then we'll keep these ends a little bit softer, because it's going to be the winter and we won't make you quite as blonde. And then, they'll go with that generally. And I'll say, and then what we'll do is, your next appointment's in 10 weeks time or 12 weeks time, and that will be the other side of the winter then. We'll be getting close to it, and we're coming into the springtime. And what we'll do is we'll start building you up blonde again towards the summer, so you can be nice and blonde in the summer, And so I've given them then kind of 6 months worth of journey, if you like. And then what I also do to top that all off, I say to them, should we get that all booked in so that you're there, when your appointments are going to be, and what your hair is going to be like, and if you've got any interjections or you see something you particularly like, then please feel free to let me know, and we'll see how we can incorporate that into the journey. So my big rhetoric is a journey, the words that I'm using are journey all the time,
Is that to keep getting excited to coming back?
Absolutely, yeah. Then they think, oh, I can't not see James, because, we're on a journey.
He knows the journey. We're on a journey together.
We're on a journey together. We're friends. Yeah. We're on a journey.
Yes, good
but
stuff.
I mean, you do become friends with your clients, as you know, Lee. You do. you know, and I do consider some of my clients friends now. You know, some of them are just top-notch people and I love them. Just going to show you what we're doing here now. We've taken a section, we've just excluded the front hairline from the recession area, a little tiny little triangle of hair. And then we've got a vertical section just here. Okay, that's about 2.5 inches wide at the top, and it goes straight down the head to the back of the ear here. So that's our first section here. So what we're going to do, nice, easy technique, little French braid. So, I mean, also, I think from a commercial standpoint, as you say, I still do clients because, as I said in the beginning, I am a commercial hairdresser. I'm not pretending to be, you know, someone that's mega creative, you know, technically creative and, you know, whatever. I am here to help other hairdressers who are commercial hairdressers be better commercial hairdressers. And there's nothing more to it than that for me. I'm not ever going to stand here and say I'm an inventor, creator, you know, boundary breaker when it comes to hair. I'm just commercially sound. I've made a really, really phenomenal living out of just being a hairstylist, you know. Forget YouTube and all that jazz, you know, education gigs and whatever else. I made a good living out of just being behind the chair. And I could have continued making that good living behind the chair, no dramas, you know, but I wanted to share what I knew. I was a natural sharer, you know, and I wanted to help people, you know, make money. And really that's the, you know, like I said, that's the crux, because we're not charity, are we? You know what I mean? I know people look at us like a bit like a charity case, but we're not a bloody charity. We're here to make some money, you know, and we're very nice people and we've got very big hearts, hairdressers. You know, we want people to be happy. And I think sometimes we get exploited as hairdressers because of that, you know, and people take the mickey and they tell us we charge too much and whatever. But, you know, the reality is we are very skilled individuals. We've got lots of education in chemistry and science and, you know, geometry and all these kind of different things that we don't necessarily highlight, but they are there. And I think, you know, it needs talking about more. You know, we need more people singing it from the rooftops. You know.
Absolutely. So you're sort of back your back finger in that, so to speak.
Yeah, back finger. I like that. I was gonna come on to the technique. So what I've done is simple French braid. Started from the root area, and I'm just picking the top of the section, and I'm just fanning it out. And you've got to do this slowly, guys. Right? It's one step at a time. I like messy, you know, texture, movement, you know, volume, body, all those kind of things. One step at a time to tease out a braid. You've got to do it before you put the band in, really, because then you can kind of tie up any loose ends before you then, you know, secure this to the head. But yeah, just get the section, tease it out really gently, work it through like this, and it just fans it out beautifully. I really, really love that. It looks like one of those wicker, you know, what they used to beat a rug with from the Victorian times. You know,
I mean, do you do much back combing or back brushing?
Little bits and pieces, but you know what? I think that first technique you can probably back brush a little bit, but it's for me at the moment the techniques that I'm doing, you know, commercially are not very big techniques. We're going to put a little bit of volume in the crown on this area with a bit of teasing, but I'm just gently, you know, I'm not like backcombing heavily. So we're going to do a little bit to get a bit of volume in here in a minute, but you know, not masses. No, it's not. You know, nobody comes in and asks me for a massive updo these days. You know, they want something that's kind of lived in.
And is that easier or harder to do than something that's very neat?
I think lived in done well is really difficult, because it's like saying, right, well, I'm going to make a mess, but it's going to look deliberate.
Yeah.
If I said to you, right, Lee, go in your living room and deliberately make a mess now, and make it look like you did it deliberately, it'd be hard work, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's what not Tracy Chaplin. Who's the designer that did that with her bed?
Tracy Hemming.
Tracy Hemming, that's right. Sorry, she did that with her bed, didn't she?
She did, yeah. I mean, and I thought it was genius.
Yeah.
And there are other designers that have done similar. What am I doing? Putting a band in. I've gone mad. Putting a band in this now. That's not what I'm doing. I've just got a band ready. There are other designers that have done, similar things, and making a mess look good, or making something that is untidy look deliberate, for me, takes more time and effort. I mean, I could have put a really neat braid in that hair on the other side and just left it, but it took time to make it look distressed,
Yeah, very true. Anyone's got any questions for James or myself? Like usual.
Questions you've got?
Go on, James.
Think commercial, guys. Think about anything you want answering that's commercial. Think about your careers as hairdressers beyond training. Anything you want to ask me, then go for it. Because I'm an open book, really. I'm happy to help you with whatever. So don't think if it's a money question, don't think it's rude. If it's if it's anything you like, go for it. And I'm totally happy to help. So feel free.
No such thing as a silly question, guys. If you're in class right now, then please ask your trainer if they could ask a question for you, if they've got access to the computer. Anything that springs to mind, guys, please share it.
Love to hear from you all. I mean, I know that, sometimes it's difficult to ask questions, isn't it? You've got things that you want to know, that you feel like, you want to say, but you don't want the reprisal, or you don't want people. But if you don't ask, you don't know, do you? You know what? One thing, guys, that I love about Lee, right? This is one of the big things I love about you, Lee. You know what? I've never met anybody who asks so many questions, but in a way that are just so unobtrusive. You've asked me so many questions, Lee, over the years.
Yeah.
And I've heard you asking other people questions, and I totally admire your ability to question somebody in this completely unobtrusive way.
Oh, that's very nice, mate.
Sorry, mate.
That's very nice of you to say.
You're welcome, mate. That is true. It's something that actually, when I go home at night, and I've spent time with you, I'd always say to Maxine, who's my partner, by the way, guys, Lee knows. I'd say to Maxine, I just admire so much the way that Lee gets people to, answer questions that are maybe a bit pertinent, but you just say it in a way that, makes everybody feel at ease,
Well, thanks, mate. I think that I'm always very inquisitive to what people are doing. I remember when I first started going to Sassoons, back in the early days, and I used to sit in classrooms at Sassoons up in the West End, and 90% of the classroom back then used to be foreign. No one used to ask questions. And I always used to make a point of sitting down the front, and I would ask questions the whole way through. I always felt, for some reason, quite comfortable to ask questions. And I'm glad I did, because the thing is that if you don't ask questions, how are you ever going to really find the answers? And if you've got people in front of you like you, James, that are making a success out of your career from doing hairdressing in a very, very modern way. If I was a young person, I'd want to know every single thing of how you're doing that. Because I know if you tell me and I pay attention, I can replicate it.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I mean, Lee asked me a lot of questions anyway, and about stuff. And he's a very, and I do genuinely love that about you, Lee. And when you told me that time that you were going to do that podcast with business people, I thought that was going to be, perfect for your human nature,
Well, I've taken it, to You mean when we did the clubhouse? You mean?
No. You know when you started your podcast and you were going to interview business people.
Yes, I was, wasn't I? But we spoke about this earlier. I'm going to be interviewing John Frieda soon, and Christopher Appleton, and I interviewed James Earnshaw yesterday at the Electric Space in London, and I'm going to do it more in person now rather than doing it on Zoom. I just think that there's a bit more of an atmosphere when you've got. With saying that, we have fantastic conversations over.
Online, we do have good conversations online. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to answer Lisa's question in a second, but I'm just going to talk to you about the backcombing here. So I'm just coming in here and I'm just going in with my comb at 45 degrees like that. Hopefully you can. Let me see if I can turn a bit so you can see it. I'm going in with my comb at 45. No, you still can't see. Turn around. Lift my arm up in the air so you can see. So I'm going in with my comb, 45 degrees. I'm turning my comb around and I'm pushing down towards the root area. So I'm creating this little bit of a pad that I can then kind of fan out. And then what I'll do is I'll come along and I'll just tease down any excess, like, backcombing that's going to create any unwanted texture. Same with the top section here. And with the top section, I'm going back to this brush, okay, and I'm going to just gently brush, turn this around. I'm just going to gently brush the surface of this section just to get the hair into a nice position. Fan that out so it looks nice and natural, like it lives there and it's naturally got so much volume. I don't want tons of volume. I just want a little bit of height in the crown there. You can just see how that's added to the oomph, if you like, of the hair. But yeah, I mean, definitely ask questions, guys. It's so hugely important. What I'm going to do is tilt that down. Now, Lisa says, how do you figure out prices so you don't outprice yourself in the area and don't underprice yourself for your skill? It's really so here's the thing, right? What you've got to do, Lisa, you've got to start with how much money you want to earn. And I know that's a very difficult question for some people to answer. But let's just say, for argument's sake, for ease of use, £12,000 a year, right? Let's just use that as a figure. So you've got to turn over £1,000 a month, which means that you've got to do, £250 a week, which means that you've got to earn £50 a day, 5 days a week. Yeah. Now, if you charged, I don't know, let's say you charge £15 for a haircut, you've got to do quick maths, 45. You've got to do 3-4 haircuts a day and you'll be over your target. But then if you did a color, for instance, you've got to take your price that's going to hit that £50 a day, marker, and you've got to add the price of the tube of color on top. Now, if you was a plumber and you were doing plumbing, you'd say to someone, I'm going to buy 3 meters of pipe, yeah, and I'm going to charge you for all 3 meters, but I might not use it all, but I'm going to charge you for it because that's how they work, yeah? So you're going to say, not going to say, I've used 2.5 meters, so I'll only charge you for that and I'll throw the rest in the bin, because then they've paid for the rest of it and it's not profitable. So what I do is for every tube of tint I'm using on a client, for every time I open that tube of tint or half a tube of tint, I charge them the full amount for that color. Yeah. So that's how you figure out your prices. It's not really, I mean, I know what you're saying about your area, but at the end of the day, if you limit yourself to your area, you'll always be limiting yourself, full stop. So think about what you want to earn, how much you want to earn as a hairstylist, Lisa, and everybody else that's listening. Okay. And think about what that is to you, how much money you need to take home, pay the bills, pay your mortgage, pay for your car, whatever it is you've got to pay for. And then times that, over the month, over the week, or even go the other way, work out what your bills are and what you need to earn and scale up, because it's really one of those industries where you can just write your own checks, It's
interesting you saying that, James. I eventually got up to charging £360 for a haircut. And I did that probably 10 years ago. And how I got to that price was in the end, and I was charging in Essex, where I came from, that the area that I was living. And how I got to that was quite simply, it was supply and demand. I would wait till I got fully booked. And when I was fully booked, I was in demand. And then I would put my prices up, expecting to lose some clients, hopefully members of my team. And then I'd have some vacancy in my column for people that couldn't get in with me before, but now could, but it would be at a higher price. And then I would, if I was then fully booked in 3 months' time again, I would put my prices up. And that's what I continued to do for years until I eventually got up to £360.
That's exactly what I do. That is exactly the methodology that I work on.
There you go. Great minds, eh, mate?
So yeah, that is what Lee's just said there is precisely how I go about it as well. But yeah, it's supply and demand, guys. If you're busy, you're busy, And
that way, it's not a case of where are you working. It's how you could be working in Timbuktu. If you're doing great work and you've got a great reputation in your area and you're fully booked, you're in demand. So just put your prices up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if you've got a few gaps because people go elsewhere, they don't want to pay that, you wait till you're fully booked again, put your prices up. It's a winner, guys.
It works. Absolutely, it works. I'm telling you now. We can both vouch for that, and we didn't rehearse that. That is just the way it is. So just taken the two plaits we took that we made, tucked one behind the other, just secured it with a pin, and you can come along and you can pin into the plait if you want to create a different shape with the plait, or put it in a different way, or whatever you want to do with it. I'm just going to actually take that one out, that top one. I always crisscross my pins as well. I'll show you about that in a minute. I'm just going to take this one out and re-secure it. And another thing is, guys, when you're making hair up or whatever you're making, build your shape and then tidy up afterwards. So make your shape and then go in and fix any of your flyaways or whatever it is you need to do. Don't try and make it neat as you go. It makes the job so much more difficult. So just work, your shape in, and then go around filling in any bits and pieces that you need to sort out later, and that makes the whole job so much more straightforward. So that is my top piece of advice for making any updo. And don't forget to hide your bands. So we're going to just cover up our band here with a little bit of hairspray, wrap it around the bobble, soak it in hairspray, your tail, plus a little bit to glue it down, wrap it around, and then just a bit more, fix it into position, just hairspray like that, wrap it around, job done. Then sort of come in and then fix your beehive bit, your bump, whatever you want to do, make sure your profile, you're happy with the profile of the shape. I'm just going to move around so I can see. Tuck in any ends that we don't want to see. Put that behind your ear roll.
James, have you ever had any experience of dermatitis or infestations or infections with your clients coming in and sitting in your chair?
Not really. I've had a few nits on kids and mums and stuff, and I just say to them that unfortunately you've got nits and we can't do your hair today, so recommend some nit jollop for them and send them home. Then when it's all cleared up, they can come back.
So what sort of advice do you give them if you do see something that's ominous? What advice do you give people?
Well, I'm very upfront and I'm just honest, and I'll just say, look, you've got nits, unfortunately. I'm sure you just picked them up from your kids, they're very common. I offer them, a treatment range that's, to go to the boots and get some advice. My kids, I've nipped a couple of times. I've used a nip stuff. I say, well, I use that on mine, but you can go and speak to your chemist and see what he says, and go from there or whatever. I've had people with melanomas on their scalps, cancers that I've spotted, where I've seen unusual looking moles or, whatever. And I've recommended they see their doctor. I've had 2 cases of melanoma that were diagnosed as melanoma, spotted by, me seeing an unusual mole or a skin growth. So yeah, that is definitely something to, but if it also, like alopecia and stuff like that, if you're not qualified, then send them to somebody who is,
Yeah. So do you think they might not have noticed it?
Absolutely.
Till much later on?
Absolutely. Sorry, 1 minute.
You could have saved their life, James.
Sorry, Lee, say that. We're just getting to product. 1 minute. Say that again.
You could have saved your client's life.
Could have done, yeah. Maybe I did. I don't know, but she hadn't seen it. She hadn't noticed it. One lady had a growth just behind her ear hole. She hadn't seen it. I said, go to your GP. She did, and it turned out to be melanoma. Another client, he had what looked like a sort of a brownish grey scab on his scalp at the top, and I said to him, look, you probably want to get that checked out, and he did, and it was melanoma again.
Wow. So
yeah, be honest with these people, guys. Tell them, if you see something that you're not sure about, just say, look, you're going to check that out at the GP, and I'm pleased that I did, because in both cases I could have ignored it, pretended like I'd never seen it, and it could have been a lot worse. So yeah. All right, a couple of final tweaks for the old plaits. So there we go. Nice, simple ponytail technique, couple of plaits. Easy to do. You can throw this in no time at all. Do this to your clients just as you're finishing off. You don't even have to blow dry their hair too much. Paddle brush it, smooth it out. Once you've got the ponytail in, you could just put some curls in the ponytail and brush that out.
Nice.
Get the old braids in position. Stick a couple of grips in. Probably go in with some U grips if you wanted this to last a bit longer. Hook that little soft bit. I left this soft bit out. You can leave that out of the ponytail if you want, or yank it out for now. But you could leave a little soft tendril at the front there if you want to, which looks really nice and super soft around the face there. So yeah, it's a really, really good salon friendly, piece of styling, or one of those ones where the client says, "Well, what can you do other than blow dry my hair or wave it or whatever?" And then you could just do one of these.
So how long would that take you if you wasn't presenting it and someone came in?
15 minutes. 15 minutes.
And how would you price that in, James?
To be honest, Lee, if I was booking it in, I would just book it in as a blow dry. If I was going to do my client's hair, then I would just throw that in as a thank you very much for your custom job.
Right.
It's not going to extend the time of their appointment. I'll do whatever in that time frame. I'll give myself 60 minutes to cut someone's hair. I will happily do whatever within that 60 minutes, whatever. If it goes over the 60 minutes, well, of course, then we're talking about it costing more.
Gotcha.
I tend to charge by 15-minute intervals anyway. So, for instance, every 15 minutes with me, $17.50. So 15 minutes, $17.50, 30 minutes, 35. Then we've got, $52.50, 70, and then product, color prices on top of that. So the product itself. Huh?
Thanks, James.
You're welcome, mate.
Absolutely first class presentation as normal. You can see that you clearly do this for a living now, present hair. You know, a real pro, mate, and love the work. Like I say, really commercial, simple, tasteful, well done. So thanks very much, James, for sharing that all with us today. Thanks everybody for watching again. We will be doing another one next week, so stay tuned. Get the links from your trainers so you can watch it at home if you're not watching it in the classroom. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Have a wonderful week, James. It was great.
Thank you for your time, guys. Please look after yourselves.
Great spending some time with you lot. So until next week, take care, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye.